You wanted to overrun us and poison us and take our families and kill us? You will die, not us!
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
A beautiful Tuesday night. It is absolutely gorgeous out there today from start to finish. Aurora and I had some things on the agenda today. We wanted to go to the park early in the morning and get a workout in so that we can go and earn our way to an acai bowl for breakfast. And that's what we did. And it was so cool and so dry. And when I left here last night, the studio, I came outside. I was expected to get hit in the face with that hair dryer, the hair dryer heat, along with the wetness, and it was all gone. It was cool and dry. I said, "Holy shit, this is beautiful," and it carried into the morning. It's been a nice day, even though after that workout, I wasn't able to leave the house at all. I was just able to put things together tonight and preparing for a great friend of ours to show up and hang with us. And that, of course, is Alberto Marchetti. What's going on, Alberto? Well, hold on. I hit the wrong button again. Go ahead.
What's up, Frank? Now I can hear myself. Hello, everyone.
You would think I know where all the buttons are already.
I'm sure you do. I know you do in your sleep with your eyes closed.
Yeah, you'd think. Well, how's it? Well, first of all, before we get into anything tonight, how you're 5 weeks into new baby at home. So tell me all about it.
No, we're doing good. We feel very blessed. We're very happy, but man, it's a lot of work. Yeah. I was telling you earlier a funny story. And I see the funny story is this. I hold my daughter, and if I walk around, she's fine. She's like this little angel in my arms. But the moment I sit down, for some reason, she starts crying. She wants me always active and running around, and I must have walked around the kitchen and the living room 8,000 times. I don't know what to do next. And I thought it was I was like, man, I never experienced this in the past. And then I go online, and somehow you see all this Instagram stories of fathers that have the same exact problem. I mean, it's the same position. Why can't she calm down in my arms like this? What's the difference if I'm sitting or if I'm standing? Like, so I'm trying to type some email with one hand, try to make a phone call, and no, it's not working. I got to get up. I got to exercise.
Are you calming her down in English or Italian?
Both, mostly English.
Okay. See, Aurora, I don't remember about whether I was sitting down and screaming, standing up, but I do know that was the case with car rides. Like our car at the time we didn't really have a lot of miles on it. But we realized, well, she sleeps very good in the car. So every once in a while, we put her in the car for a nap ride or whatever. And it was one of those things where whenever we saw a red light coming up, I would start cursing under my breath because I knew
she will wake up.
I would slow approach red lights to try to just keep the car in motion. Because as soon as it settled, it was rustling and eyes open like she's a porcelain doll. You know how the eyes of a doll just flip right open? Like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
We put about 12,000 miles in the car, just driving her around for naps at one point. But I don't know. Everything else was okay. It's such a short period of time.
It does.
This is all going to change up so quick. I mean, I'll be in your shoes in a couple of months.
Right.
And,
yes. Congratulations to you too. So
I'm always praying. I can't wait. But I'm just so happy to hear about that with you. And how's Olya doing?
She's doing great. She's a super mom. I'm blessed.
Good. Well, man, there's so much to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
There's things going on in Europe I want your thoughts from.
Okay.
I'm
going to try to stay calm.
Well, you don't have to.
Oh my God.
I had a night last night. I had a little bit of a flamethrower show last night. I haven't had one of those in a long time, and it actually felt good. I realized, when I left the studio last night, this feels good. I feel like I got all the poison out. And this is what I used to come to the studio every night and just be like, this pissed me off, and I'm going to call people bad names for a couple of minutes. You just stick with me, and I need to get this out. So that was nice. So you don't have to worry about what I will say is this. There's going to be an aspect of tonight's show where we're talking about changes. Now, obviously, there's changes going on all over the place.
Yeah.
But as far as something that disappeared quietly from everyday life, I put up a poll on the community section on the Quite Frankly YouTube. I passed that link around just so people could vote in it. It's got almost 300 votes right now. But right now, here's what it says. We've got this. What's something that quietly disappeared from everyday life that you still miss? And as of right now, we've got payphones coming in at 14%. We've got neighborhood block parties coming in at 23%. And we've got, at 44%, 24-hour diners. Now, I put that in there because I know around here there are quite a few diners that either closed down during COVID or they never returned to 24 hours. They closed during the week. There are some diners that close at the obscene hour of 10:30 at night. That's obscene. You're not a diner. I don't know what the hell you are if you're closing at 10:30 at night. The weekends, I think that they go until about 11:30. But there's only maybe 1 or 2 24 hours around here now. And that's a bit, I don't know, America, I was actually talking to somebody at one of the 24-hour diners. It's in Greenwich, Connecticut. We went there for some breakfast on Sunday morning, and we were seated by a friend of ours there. We know a lot of the staff there now. And I've actually got very close to them during COVID because I was one of the only people showing up every night. Mm-hmm. Even if I just showed up for a milkshake or something, I showed up just to tip them because nobody was coming in. And I'd walk through the door, and my friends like Aaron and Beto, and they'd be standing there. I look at them and go, and they'd just say, "There's nobody here. There's nothing going on." I thought that they were going to close after generations. Anyway, I said, "So did we miss the rush?" Because it's 9:00 on a Sunday, and it's actually pretty space. There's room. They said, honestly, it never got crazier. It never got crazier than the years prior to COVID. I said, 6 years later, you never got everybody back? And what they told me was, well, it's not even just that we lost a lot of people people are just, a little bit more phobic and all that shit. I think a lot of the phobia has gone away. The problem now is that there's costs are going up all over the place. Like they complain, even the staff, the management complain about the costs that are making their way to the menus, and they're saying that the diners used to be a place where you can bring a family
it
of
was
five,
affordable, right?
5, 6, 7, and spend $60. And now you're coming over here with this family of 4, and you're not paying.
Expensive.
Yeah, you're not paying less than $100 sometimes. And she said, and I said, that's a huge. America was built on diners, man.
Right.
And
sometimes I have to check myself because I have some friends, that are kind of like, I've been in New York for maybe 10, 15 years. I've been here much longer, 25 and change. And sometimes when I tell them how much better New York was in the past and this kind of stuff, I kind of sound like I'm this grumpy old man. But I lived in New York 15 years and plus, and I remember I was there in the late 90s and so on. So I've seen changes, and you here in Westchester too, but how less expensive things were. So it was a lot more affordable. A lot more people were out and about. And also all the restaurants, cafes and so on were open until 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's not like that anymore. I think the first change I noticed, it happened during after 9/11. That was the first time that some kind of was like a reality check. Something put a damper, something hit the brakes, and people start staying more home. And then, the following 15 years or so, little by little, lifestyle changes. I think also the fact that less cash around, everything is in credit cards now. Before cash, the prices, man, you kind of feel it. If something is expensive, it's a high price, man, you have to take it out. You have to count it. Shit, do I have it? But now it's just a freaking number on an electronic pad. You can barely see it.
It's not even, can I count? It's not even, do I have enough? It's, if you do have enough, you actually think twice. You actually think twice. Like, do I want to give up do I want to hand this over right now? Can I go without it?
You know what I mean? Like when you can't touch it. You can touch cash. Now the prices, everybody can just shoot whatever price they want and you're there. But, then people see the prices going high, they don't go out. I think it's just everything, lifestyle change, more Netflix, people stay home. I don't know. Sometimes I sound like an old man because I feel like 20 years ago or 25 years ago, it was better. When was the last time you saw people just outside on, if you're in the city on a stoop, at night or, people playing, you know what I mean? Everybody was out. Now everybody is more comfortable at home. They turn on DC, they watch Netflix, and that's it.
It's not. First of all, it's been a very long time since I've even just walked neighborhoods in the city at night. It's been many years since we just were there and we just went for a walk after dinner or before we go to a dessert spot. Whenever we would go there, we would always have a spot to go to dinner.
Right.
And then we say, let's go over there for dessert.
Yeah.
Something like that. A hookah bar or whatever the hell it is. We'd love to do it all. But you're not the old man because there's a lot of young Gen Z types who have been talking about the same thing too. If you're just flirting with the age of 30 right now, you're still in your 20s. It's not even okay. Maybe you were a baby when September 11th. It's gonna be 25 years this September since 2001. So maybe you were a baby when all that happened. If you were born after the fact and you don't remember that, but you've been around for several big changes since then, and the changes happen quick. So, over a 6-year term, a 6-year, a point of a little span of 6 years, it's totally valid to say, man, things were so much better 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Because, that's how stark and quick the changes are. It doesn't mean you're old. Young people are old these days, So it's just, it's great. But that's part of the thing I wanted to throw out there. And I'm going to give some people a few more minutes to jump into these into this post. I'll put it into the chats so you can put it in there. I just put the link into the Rumble. I put the link into the Twitch and the YouTube again, just so people can cast a vote, because there's another section in here that I want to read off in a little bit, and that is the 19% of people who have voted so far said it's something else that they miss, and they've put that in the comments. So I want to read the comments later on.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that in the second half of the show.
If I had to add something, pay phones, obviously, all that kind of stuff, because just the technology changed. But like I said, I think I miss cash the most. Like you can still use cash, but nobody uses cash. Like I think that's a big. That's something we should try to keep.
I had cash refused, which is illegal.
But
I had
it's legal tender, right? They should accept it. Even a penny, they should keep.
I we were in Connecticut, and Lauren was bringing Aurora somewhere, and I saw a nice, place to eat across the street. I figure I can pick up a chicken wrap or something while they were doing whatever they were doing across the street. So I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go across the street and get a wrap. You guys want anything, whatever. So I went over there, and I got a wrap, and I'm waiting for it. Comes out, and I take out money. I put it down. Oh, we don't accept cash. I said, no, yes, you do. I said, what do you mean you don't accept cash? What are you talking about? It was and now, first of all, in Connecticut, I checked, and I already knew this too. I said, well, you know that you are violating state law right now. And I wasn't gonna, after a while, I was just like, these people, they're not management, they're not ownership. What the hell? I'm not going to bother them.
Yeah.
I gave them my card. But that was another COVID policy. Everybody abandoned cashless, contactless. We're just going to go with cards. And that's another one of those things that never went back in some places. Now, I don't know if somebody held them to account afterwards, but the fact that just a year and a half ago, I had cash refused in the United States because of something that happened 5 years prior, which we all know that all the prescriptions for combating that was completely unscientific.
Right.
And so it's crazy. You want to talk about the end of cash or what people want to be the end? You see it.
Yeah. Cash is very important because it gives you some sort of independence. Once everything moves to digital, then, you're much easier to control. Yeah.
I got to show you something real quick, and then we'll get back into this later on. Did you see that we have Bigfoot finally confirmed? The biggest, I think this is the clearest Bigfoot picture that anybody has seen. Did you see this? Take a look at this.
On July 3rd, 2026, some shockingly clear photos of Bigfoot's face were released. The caption reads, "This is not a monkey. Remote Southwest Washington State, USA trail cam photos." The images were taken by a super high quality trail camera, as the captures are super HD. Check them out.
That looks like one of the wax figures at the American History of Natural, the Natural History Museum in New York.
Right. Somebody, I saw this earlier in the week, and they were saying, where the hell is the body? I mean, you see the face, but where's the shoulders? He has no shoulders, nothing.
The creature scene looks very strange. Not quite monkey-like, not quite human-like, like something we've never seen before.
Yeah, no, I reject this out of hand because I have Harry and the Hendersons in my head. That's what you ever see Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah, the Sasquatch movie from late 80s, early 90s.
That's what I have in my head. I reject this just outright. It just doesn't
look like Harry.
No.
I don't know. The photos look quite realistic, but in the age of AI, you never know, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that kind of makes me say that it might be real is just the eyes have some kind of like spark into them.
They have some life.
Some life into them that you don't usually see in AI stuff. But, if it's not a Sasquatch, what could it be?
I don't know.
Oh, a prop? But maybe an animal that has some kind of deformity. You know what I mean? Like, you have also humans that are born with some kind of like genetic mutation and, have a funny nose and funny eyes. Could this be a bear?
Oh, man.
A bear that has lips? It must be a monkey.
A lot would have to go wrong with a person to end up looking like this.
Oh, maybe a monkey, yeah.
Well, it's not only that, not only would a birth that catastrophic have been logged and reported somewhere, but how the hell they go out into all of a sudden it's in the wild, it's being picked up by trail cam. Like who released their circus sideshow freak child into the woods like that to terrorize people?
I don't think it's human. I must think it must be some kind of monkey that went feral and somehow
could be. Are there any Italian? What are the most famous Italian cryptids?
I looked it up online. They had a few, but nothing that really come to mind. We have more interesting old legends of like ghosts and devils more than just cryptids.
Yeah.
If you want, I can tell you some fun ones.
I would love to hear some.
There's a place not far from where I grew up in Pisa, in Tuscany, where there's a bridge that's a perfect arch. You can look it up if you put Bridge of the Devil, Tuscany, and it will come up.
Let me see.
Let's see if you pull it up. I'll tell you the legend that goes behind this.
Bridge of the Devil in Italy. Here we go. The Devil's Bridge, visit Tuscany. Here we go. Let me see.
You see that arch?
That does look like a devilish bridge.
So the story was that they've been trying to build this bridge for centuries, but because of the rough waters, this is close to this is on the mountain, so there's kind of like rapids nearby. The bridge kept falling. And then finally, this strange being appears to the engineer building the bridge and tells him, we can't do a pact. It's like, I'll help you build the bridge overnight, but in exchange, I'll take the soul of the first person that walks across it. So the engineer, who was a clever man, agreed to the pact. But the next morning, the bridge is built. But as they're waiting for who's going to cross, and give their soul to the devil, the engineer throws a piece of meat towards the middle of the bridge, and a dog runs to catch it, and that's the first soul that crosses the bridge. Now, tricking the devil that way.
What has happened to the? I mean, I have to imagine the dog. Is there anything more on the dog? That sounds
that's
like
the end of the legend.
Really? Uh-huh. Because that's a pretty good legend, but it also sounds like it could be the origin story of some sort of a dog menace.
I mean, we could. Yeah, it'd be nice. Somebody should write a fantasy story.
Yeah, about the dog at the Devil's Bridge. Whatever. There should be something going on there.
So there's a lot of little legends like this around Italy. But yeah, more than cryptids. Depending on the photos you actually see, it reflects in the water. It looks like a full circle. If you find other photos, but yes.
You know, the other crazy thing is, and I see the full circle over here.
Yeah, right. The reflection, yes.
Yeah. But what I think is crazy is this part right over here, which looks like a small little train bridge.
Actually, it's a train. The train passes underneath it, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and of course, this one is bigger so that smaller boats would be able to go under?
Yeah, that's bigger so that, you can go underneath it, or, yeah.
Have you ever crossed this bridge?
I have a few times, yes.
Okay.
It's quite steep actually to walk across it. Yeah, most bridges don't have that kind of angle. You walk on easy. It's kind of like, okay, it's a little bit of a hike.
Wow. Well, what's another one?
I mean, that's the one that comes to mind right now. But yeah, I mean, there's some of the stories like we talked in the past of the sword in the rock, right? With Galwain. That too. There's if you go to the chapel where the sword is preserved. There's a little niche in the wall, little like cut out in the wall, and you can open. It's kind of covered with like a blanket because they don't want tourists to freak out. But if you open it, if you move the blanket, there's actually two sets of arms in it, skeletons that used to belong to two non-believers. They in the 1700s tried to lift the sword, claiming that it was a fake. And the moment they tried to lift the sword broke, the hilt broke, and they said that wolves came out of the forest and devoured them as punishment for not believing into the miracle. And the arms of these poor people that got devoured by the wolves, of these two non-believers, are still kept in the crypt, in the little chapel where the sword is.
See, we don't. There's not that many stories and legends like that in the United States. I mean, there are plenty of interesting things and kind of macabre things and all that stuff, but that's ancient style. That's like an ancient style legend.
Yeah, I mean, the sword goes back to 1100s, yeah, so.
Hey, man. Wow. All right, well, hey, I love those stories, so you just, don't hesitate at all. I'd love to hear more about it. Now, speaking of Europe, I gotta hear what you have to say on this. So Nick Shirley went to, how do you say it? Sueta?
Sueta? I think so.
Okay, so I've been saying it wrong. He went there to that part in Spain to just start talking to people. He had, obviously, as soon as he landed, he started getting interviews with people who are very candid about why they were there, who told them to come, why there was only men coming along, and all that other stuff. And he posted this today. Seems like he narrowly escapes a knife attack over there, which I think is pretty indicative.
And headed to the center of the town with the citizen vigilante Mancia. However, within minutes, we were chased out. So now people here to feel safe, they're walking around with their dogs because Muslims do not like dogs. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Now we got people throwing stuff at us. Okay, so look, he's got the rocks now. He's throwing rocks. Oh shit! They're throwing rocks.
For those of you in podcast land, somebody is screaming at them. I'm going to stab both of you.
No. Look,
and now they're getting
chased.
They're getting chased.
He has a knife. He's got a knife. He's got a knife. Just like that, we have finished our mission here in Spain. We showed you guys the truth of what was actually going on.
Yeah, get the hell out of there, Nick.
I don't think he was going to get really stabbed, but they were probably trying to scare him off. Yes, this it's kind of like gang mentality, the same.
I mean, it's obviously coordinated. It's very, very you can't. Yeah. I mean, 60,000 people don't come run into one location without there being a considerable amount of promotion going on, and coming from several sources too. But damn, man, I mean, I saw when this first started, I saw what Giorgia Meloni did, closing off one border or another, and what. But I don't know, man. This is it's too much for one civilization to take.
Yeah, I think I'm very worried about the state in Europe. I think, unfortunately, there's no real political direction to try to stop this kind of like unchecked mass migration. And I think, unfortunately, at least in the short term, it's going to bring a lot of issues, yes. And I'm kind of like one of the few that kind of like says this. I think majority in Europe actually favors this kind of like indiscriminate immigration. And when I bring it up with friends or other people, they're like always like, no, Alberto is not a problem. I think that they just live sheltered lives and they don't realize what's going to happen. And it's definitely some of it is just casual. It's just internet. People now with Instagram, YouTube, they see how other people live in different countries, and they just take advantage of it, especially if the countries are weak when it comes to like illegal migration. But then a part of me thinks, like you just mentioned, that it's very coordinated, and I think it's coordinated by a few different entities. One is definitely somebody within the state itself. I think we in Europe in general, there's been 50 years of failed like policies, and they kind of welcome more immigrants because they just kind of like fattening up the bottom of the pyramid. More consumers, they'll come, they'll purchase, they'll buy, they'll replace an older population that didn't have enough kids. So they welcome them for that. I also feel that there's a sense that we're going towards more like scarcity, not more wealth, and people are kind of welcome more a poor population to enlist in the army and this kind of stuff. And as you see, this kind of endless wars too, also between Ukraine and Russia. So even in there, how many people were brought in from other countries, right? From North Korea and so to fight this war. Yeah.
We started seeing those mercenary recruitment campaigns start up real quick. And there was a lot of people vlogging about their time going back out to Ukraine to present themselves. That was a trend that only lasted a couple of months. then I remember there was a lot of people from the US and the UK and whatever that were getting there and realizing how uncoordinated everything was, and how the battle planning and all that stuff was so suicidal.
There were disposable bodies that they threw at the meat grinder. And I think
4 years later now, though.
Right.
How the fuck?
Terrible. And again, I think Europe, with the aging population, part of the political class in Europe is welcoming this kind of unchecked migration of 18-year-olds, 19, 20 years old, uneducated, from these third world countries that can be easily swayed, to again be consumers and join the army. And I think this is from the people within Europe. And I also think there's a somehow like a globalist agenda by some wealthy elites that kind of welcome this kind of stuff to kind of like disintegrate national powers, to try to take control of these countries. Yeah.
When you say, though, when you say fattening up the bottom of the pyramid, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But we were just saying this the other day. It was actually just last night when I opened up with some statements from Vinny Pastore about Italian Americans and what they contributed over here, especially in places like New York, Chicago, the big cities that they flocked to in the late 19th century, early 20th century. And not only was I talking about how, there was gigantic, huge contributions, but that the return rate to Italy, the return rate anywhere from all of the European immigration that was happening in that period was somewhere around 35 to 40%. That within 5 to 10 years during that time, namely because there was no welfare system, there was no safety net that said, "Hey, come on over here. We're going to give you anything you need. We're going to give you food stamps. We're going to, change the diapers of your babies. There's going to be free everything, all that other stuff. And once you take the oath, you just know who to vote for." That's exactly, that's the kind of shit that's happening now. So back then, there was a lot of people who were just they were here working their asses off and doing what they could. And if they couldn't hack it, they went back. Or if they just missed everybody, they went back. That's a base that you can build a future on, because those are people who are assimilating, that are taking up work, skilled labor, that they're putting their skills to use, and they're actually contributing to the society that they have, come to join. When you talk about what's going on in the 21st century everywhere, whether it's Europe or the United States, the people who are largely being brought in are like dependent from the get-go. And when they are tracked over the course of 2-3 generations, it really does not get that much better. So when you say it's fattening up at the bottom of the pyramid, that's a lot of fluff. That's as fat as a cat is sometimes. Yeah. It's not. It does. I don't know where the hell they're going to be drawing from, because it's not. They're not going to be supporting all the retiring Italians soon. It's because they're going to need support too. All the newcomers. Mm-hmm. They don't give a shit about this.
Look, we can talk. This is a big conversation, but for capitalist countries to really work, free markets to work. You, as a population ages, you need some kind of like replacement. And, when I said fattening up the bottom of the pyramid was kind of like a crude image, but you can look it up. There's some economic principles, and they usually for every couple, husband and wife, they said you need at least 3 kids. Not 1, not 2, you need at least 3. That's usually how economies keep growing. So it has to be kind of like this shape. The closer it gets to like a column, where for every 2 parents you only have 2 kids, this is usually a bad sign for the economies. Economies tend to collapse. If they go invert, like what's going in Europe, where the top of the pyramid, the older part of the population is in bigger numbers than the replacement, the system collapse, especially in places like Europe, where you have a lot of social assistance, that's offered by the government. as you have an aging population, you don't have people that contribute to the welfare state on the bottom, and the system collapse. And now you have national unrest, as you cannot offer medical assistance to the aging population and so on. So they realized decades ago that as the Italians, for example, were not having enough kids, that they might need to bring people from overseas to change what was starting to become a V-shaped pyramid to a regular pyramid. But this, and also we can go, if you see at the origin, the reason why people did not have kids is because they felt squeezed. They were not, my generation, I think, was not offered the same opportunities that my parents were offered. Like cheaper housing, cheaper like access to education. When that was cheap, people have disposable income. They have more free time. They feel like they can have one extra kid. But as the world got more complex and they started extracting more taxes from people felt squeezed. They have less time because they have to work more to make more money. They have to pay more taxes, so they start having less kids. Yeah. So the failed policies of these politicians in Europe for the past 50 years caused this bottleneck where people start having kids. And now they're starting to fatten up the bottom of the pyramid again because they need people that contribute to this through taxes, to work to the welfare state to keep this pyramid shape going. Otherwise, there'll be civil unrest.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think that
in the U.S. it's not far off. U.S. is very similar to.
Yeah, well, the bottom of the pyramid is not what it seems. That's the whole issue. And in a truly free market and a monolithic culturally homogenous society, the real replacement, you need to just replace the family unit. And if you're talking about something that's so big, where all right, at the end of a person's life, that is when the government needs to kick in, and that is where all these slush funds that they've been taken from people should be available to them. When it's not something that needs to be managed by the government, and things like retirement and everything else, and you can actually own a home and not be, after you pay it off.
How important is to owning a home?
Own a home, yeah. I mean, there are plenty of people in this country who don't have any mortgage, and they still are, because of whatever property taxes they owe to one local government or another. They are in hot water whether they can lose their property. It's not yours then. It's things like that go a real long way, because there's less and less, and that is not the mark of a free economy or a free society. And if there's less and less places where people can just say, this is mine, and that it's always going to be my backdrop, my safety net, the true safety net, then yeah.
So I was thinking about this actually in the past few weeks. What changed really? Why was Europe so wealthy 50 years ago, 100 years ago? Why was the U.S. very wealthy, turn of the century, of the 20th century, right? If you go see the lower part of Manhattan that was built in the late 1800s, beautiful, right? These buildings, Gothic features, very well done, right? They look like Gilded Age, right? They look like amazing. And then something switched. I think, unfortunately, we're living off of the dividends of a generation that did better than what we're doing right now. And I think was due in the U.S. and in the U.S. it was due to the fact that there was a lot of still available land. This was really the land of opportunity. You could come here, and there was a lot of, west of New York. It was just nobody owned that land.
There's
you
nothing
could
out
move,
there.
You could plant your flag and build your own fortune.
Oh, you mean just like on a frontier?
Frontier, right. Obviously, the frontier starts shifting more and more as we went by. But you see, that's wealth. When you have access to resources that are not owned by anybody else, you don't have to pay anybody to access those resources, or the fees to access them is very low. Now you can exploit the land. You can, plant crops. You can build a factory. You can build a warehouse. You understand? You have access to all these raw materials. You build wealth. But as the population grows and we move in the 21st century, everything is already owned. So now it feels like it's exactly the monopoly game. When you go, whoever comes first and does the first round around the board buys all the properties. And that's the time to buy. Now, if you do a second round, a third round, and people have built hotels, right, houses and hotels on the properties on the monopoly board, you're always paying rent. You're always paying taxes. So the first generation that came, I think obviously I don't want to go back to the time of Columbus, but we talk about, let's say 1700s, the time that the U.S. was formed, and so on. And the following 200 years benefited from this. Now, as everything is parceled up and purchased, the next person that steps on it has to pay. And Europe is very similar. Europe lived, unfortunately, the more I think about it, I think it's really, this is where it boils down to, lived off of the fortunes of colonialism. Europe was struggling. This is why people came to the U.S. If you see in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, people came over here because there was this new land that was discovered that you could have access, these cheap resources that you could build your own fortune on. And Europe suffered for years until they started really having colonies. So all the development of the East India Company in England, Austric East India Company in the Netherlands, those were brought that in the late 1700s, the Netherlands, Holland, for being maybe not even a million people, was one of the wealthiest nations in the world, number one, because they were able to have these trade routes and control vast resources in the Far East. And then after that, they got replaced by the British Empire with the same strategy. The British Empire went and had access to great resources in India, in China, Hong Kong, the lower part of Canton. But now, after it reached a peak between World War I and World War II, where with all this unrest and the lost control of these colonies, and that was the point of no return. But for the next 100 years, next 75 years after World War II, they survived based on what they were able to build in the previous century. But I think now this is, do you have friends that maybe come from a wealthy family where their grandfather built something, but they were not able to build anything? And now you get to the third generation, they still have something, right? Maybe a little nice house, but they don't have that anymore, right?
There's definitely something to be said about more industrious generations having all their gains squandered by the succeeding generations, especially the ones that did not have any connection to the work. And so, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, going into colonialism and everything else like that.
No, I'm sorry. I really took but I really think it boils down to that.
Well,
I think that's really
any mark of a society that's going to really make a name for itself is going to be in how it's going to unleash the ingenuity of its people, of its citizenry, of its culture, and that's really where the rubber meets the road, especially in places like Europe. You're talking about a lot of dynastic moving and shaking. When you bring up the world wars, I mean, that you're talking about the erasure of several generations of men, and with it, God knows how much potential for the future, where one continent over the course of 30 years had to rebuild itself twice. Or be rebuilt twice, and every time, I mean, it's essentially like somebody just erasing a chalkboard, because that is all part of a much more superseding plan than how will people who are free and unhindered by war, how are they going to behave when you give them a couple of acres and a mule or something like that? Now, in the United States, still, I would say, if you look at places that have been really, really developed, whether it's an urban area, obviously, if you wanted to get into real estate in a place like New York City right now, you better already be worth billions, because that's just the way that's going to go, and that makes sense. A place that has been turned into a gigantic metropolis, it's going to be a place for high rollers to stake their claim from years going forward. But
100%.
I was just talking about this a couple of weeks ago when we went up to Maine. Every time that Lauren and I pack up the car and put Aurora in and we go, just up into New England and stuff, you get to see just how much nothing is going on and how much space there is and how much land there is for people to stake their claim and build a homestead or start putting together what would be the foundation for a little hamlet or a village or something like that. There is so much.
It might not be a bad idea.
Right? There's so much, Alberto. There's so much out there. It's like it's not overdeveloped. It's not like it's already been done. It really hasn't. We haven't scratched the surface. People are just being. I don't know. They're just being funneled into these mega
cities. Yeah, maybe going further out, like you said, to Maine and this kind of stuff. Maybe that's where the next wealth will be built,
or the West. I mean, thinking about this here too. Like, what's gotten in the way of American farmers more than the government? How has regulations from the government down to the way that they can grow their crops? They knew what they were doing for centuries prior to the formation of our government and the EPA and everything else like that. I mean, to say that all of our problems really comes down to the suppression of what is just natural to us if we're going to be free. Private property ownership, being able to ply our trades, to be able to just be able to treat freely with people around us. Everything is so damn controlled. And that goes back to what you were talking about before with some of the cultural conditions that are inhibiting people from having families, which at that point creates a very, very convenient condition for globalist types to bring in replacements for populations that they know are going to effectively erase countries that they obviously want erased.
They want to culturally, yes.
They want it just steamrolled.
Yeah.
So
yes,
it all is connected in one way or another.
I think we'll live and we'll see what really happens. It would be nice if this problem gets resolved, or if somehow this wave of migrants will be able to bring something good to Europe. I hope it doesn't go south more than where it is. That instead it will instigate social unrest and wars. Yeah, the cultural aspect is.
Do you think it could be
crazy.
Avoided? Do you think that if you were, because I know you're a peaceful man, but you're also a man who prepares for war. Okay, I'm a peaceful man. I don't want war. I loathe it. I abhor it. It's just not my MO. A lot of people who are watching this show are the same way. But if we're going to be honest with each other in assessing the world, like if you were going to have situational awareness, if you're walking into you're walking into a bar, you're walking into a part of a city or something like that, where all of a sudden things are changing, the people around you look different, the energy is changing, and things are getting a little bit aggressive. Now you either have to get the hell out, but if it's your house, if it's your home, do you get out of your home? What do you do at that point? Do you ask somebody else for help? What if the people showing up are not on your side anymore? The police, the local government. So the question is, in assessing everything that's happening with the way that the judicial system is set up, with the way that the borders in some places, depending on who's in control, are wide open. In the United States right now, we are a little bit more airtight than we have been in years. But if you're going to be honest, as a peaceful man assessing the situation, do you see a way to really correct what's wrong in the West right now without unbelievable amounts of violence?
Look, we are already doing what we can. You and I, especially you. You're on the airwaves every night. You're talking, you're bringing up this kind of issues. I think by bringing up this kind of topics and informing people, you start already getting people aware of the problems. They could vote a certain way. Little changes can be done. But if the problem is too big, you can't change as an individual. And even with weapons, at that point, it's too late. It's too late. I don't think violence is the answer, unfortunately. There's if you look back in history, ebbs and flows. Sometimes some movements are too big for certain groups. It's just, I think, of lack of timing of when you're born influences a lot the quality of your life. There's sometimes some big movements that it's kind of like you're one man standing in front of a big wave. You're just going to get crushed.
I know what you're saying.
I don't feel you can change. What I'm trying to say, I don't feel you can change the tide so much. I think you can't, like what we're doing, talking and this kind of stuff, voting a certain way. You can kind of put some kind of barriers to kind of like direct a little bit the way the flow goes. But if the river is really raging and is really big, I think the only thing to survive is to get out of the way. And once it comes back down, you can't come back. We fought wars sometimes to try to control some populations, and we failed. It's just that there's cycles that sometimes are longer than a lifetime. They might take 100, 200 years. Random example, but Northern Ireland with Ireland, Catholics versus Protestants. They killed each other for 300 years, 400 years. And finally, 20 years ago, they agreed to a peace. It wasn't that they decided to, it's just that cycle of violence required, unfortunately, 400 years. You could have England try to stop it by sending armies for hundreds of years, and the fire will keep starting. It's just that sometimes those cycles are longer than a lifetime.
Here's the problem. Here's where I think there's a little bit more, because I understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying that I feel we're kind of like facing a similar cycle, and it might be a cycle that lasts 200-300 years, and whatever you put in front will get squashed. It will reverse course, it will end, but it might take longer than our lifetimes.
If you talk about true civil unrest from a place like, you talk about Northern Ireland or something like that, when you have people who are fellow countrymen outside of what their denomination is,
right?
That's something that might just could burn for generations, and then all of a sudden their cooler heads finally prevail when there's just so many generations of people that are gone, and who the hell knows? But the thing here is, and I understand what you're saying about the practicality of, can one man stand in front of the tidal wave and actually face it with any kind of success? And what does sacrificing yourself to the crush of that tidal wave actually bring as far as meaningful change? I understand what you're saying, that because part of that tidal wave is the government and its military and its law enforcement and its judges. That's the problem that we have right now.
Right.
It's just that those people would be standing with the invading armies. That's the problem right now. Right. And that's what makes it impractical, because it's one thing for Germany and Italy and Spain and Portugal and France and everybody over there saying, everybody's got to go. We're going to hit the reset on this.
Right.
And we're going to, if all those countries said, we're marshaling our resources to do this, but
yes,
anybody who wants to reverse this has to fight the government, their military, everything. That's the tidal wave.
Right. So perhaps I think the real issue is a cultural issue, cultural identity for the nations then, because we see in places like Poland, where they have a strong cultural identity, where they speak a unique language, where the population is very homogeneous. They were very, very strict about immigration.
Yeah.
They allow immigration, obviously, because immigration is good. Like we talked about the pyramid and this kind of stuff. You want fresh immigration, new ideas, energy, workforce, but you want to regulate who comes in. And because they have a strong cultural identity, they were raised, again, they got slaughtered through World War II. And then they faced the communist dictatorship control for 30 years. Plus 40 years after World War II. So they grew up with this sense of identity of who they are, to have their own identity, to have their own freedoms, to have their own culture respected. Then now when they're facing this kind of like crazy migration patterns, they're like, no. They're saying no. But Europe, at least the Europe I grew up with, the western part of Europe, that's Italy, Germany, France, Spain, and so on. We were raised to think that our culture is bad, that our culture is not worth saving. And when you have this doubt instilled in you since you're a young kid, you're not willing to fight for what your nation is, your culture is. And this is why when you face these mass migrations, people just shrug and look the other way. We need to really understand what makes a nation strong. And I think really beyond anything, I wish it was something tangible. But unfortunately, the intangible, the culture is what makes a nation strong. And I think we lost it a little bit, a lot actually, in the United States. Yeah. Like I was born in Italy, but I don't have an Italian flag at home. I came here, I'm proud to be an American. I only have an American flag. That's what I put up when it's a nice day outside on my deck, because I believe the values of this country. And this is what I try to teach my kids, my friends, and so on, because I think these values are unique. Is what made this nation strong. The moment enough people do not believe in those values of freedom, liberty, pursuit of happiness, private property, and this kind of values, this is when this nation will disappear. Because we come from different places, we're all different races. What keeps us united, what makes us the United States is our values, these common core values. This is why people came. So we have to defend these values, and we have to make sure that the people come here adhere to these values. Things can change because obviously 200 years ago, people went around in a buggy. Now we go around with a car. They didn't have cell phones. We do. So things can change. But some core values are inalienable. They are beyond time. And we have to preserve those. The moment we stop believing in them, we stop being, a nation.
Oh, I know.
Reagan talked a lot about this stuff. He had some incredible speeches about what it means to be American, right? You can go to Japan, but you'll not be Japanese. You can go to China, you'll not be Chinese, But you can come to the US and you become American. So, yeah, this is an incredible experiment, and we have to preserve it.
That was only 3 generations ago he was making those speeches. And, I mean, it crumbled quick.
It crumbled
quick, man.
We're fighting it, right? We're here saying it, and there's other people like us. But we have to reiterate it. We have to, I don't know, do we still do Pledge of Allegiance in school in the U.S.? Do we still have flags? So. We only hear negative things about this country. And if you think that this country is not worth saving, at that point, people will not fight for it. But you give up. We give up to the propaganda, and we're putting this country on sale.
Yeah, well, that's why I say we got to get. We definitely have to keep our fires burning. That's no doubt about it. And I think about it all the time. What is it going to take? And I guess an inspired population would be good. It just gets a little sticky once you get these little reminders of the people, what the mindset of the people around you really are. Say, oh shit, this is the biggest problem. It's and like you said, the complacency. You see the programming coming to its end result of people just not even just surrendering, but not knowing that there was anything to surrender to, just being indifferent. And that sucks. Let me ask you this.
Look, sorry, one last thing. I go to Italy. I don't know what my friends. I mean, if you tell them what it means to be Italian, they don't know. They don't know. They remove, for example, how do you call it? Military service, obligatory military service. I think there were, unfortunately, being pro-peace, but I think there was a chance for at least males at 18 to feel cohesive, to understand what it was like to be Italian if you went to the Italian service, or American to the American service, but they removed it. And I think that was, maybe looking back at it, was sort of a mistake. There was one of the first cracks on the system that didn't make people feel like that they belong belong to this country, that they're contributing to this country. Yeah.
You know, when you say before you brought up, and then we're going to take a really quick break for a second. But before you were talking about what was going on in the 1800s, the late 19th century, and just the difference between how we built things, the difference between, you've seen those beautiful Gothic cathedrals and all that stuff, and what changed. And I talk about a lot of different kind of stylistic changes and how it really reflects how confident and robust a culture can be. I just recently, over the last 4 to 6 weeks, we had maybe 1 or 2 episodes where we really admired some Art Deco type style movie theaters, skyscrapers and stuff. But as you probably know, because you were a guy who loves dabbling in all types of conspiracy theories, there is a much. I'm sent a video like this every week now, and that is breaking down how it is impossible for St. Patrick's Cathedral to have been built by us. That these are old world structures. That the Empire State Building is an old world structure. That it was impossible for it to have been built in a year or 2 years, whatever the hell it was. That Yankee Stadium, in many respects, the first Yankee Stadium was it's an old world structure. And I have so many practical questions about it, but the people who do the presentations, they have no lack of things for you to chew on. And so I just wonder, have you ever considered stuff like that? Because there are probably 1 or 2 people in this audience who say, well, Alberto, the reason why you have all these beautiful structures in the past that are not being made now, that everything's more blocky and Soviet-style brutalism and all this other shit, is because that was made by
pre-Diluvian?
Something like that. Something like that.
I mean, it's fun to think about it, but I think it's all fantasy. I don't think it's using anything reality. But sure, we can engage in it as a.
Well, you're not there.
No, I think the Empire State Building was finished in 1929. It was built in 2 years, like they said, and so on. I think people had real skills and they could build things. You know what frightens me? Tell me.
I used to be, and I still am in many ways, the black sheep in my family when it comes to like how I see all this stuff. And I do this show because I have a lot of alternate opinions and takes on things that are so-called mainstream. But now with the way that the internet is and how these stories and these thoughts and these theories are really, they're just constantly chopped up and shared and built upon and all that other stuff. It's getting to the point now where if I were to mention how impressive the construction of the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building was back in the early, the late 20s, early 30s, and all that other shit, we're on a track right now where you're going to be called a normie soon for believing that. It'll be by a fringe, but it'll be a very snooty fringe. Who'll go, he still believes that Americans built the Empire State Building. We're getting there. We're getting to that point. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. I really don't know. Because I'm not going to be bullied into if some things have merit, and I'm still very interested to see what people are presenting, but I'm not going to be bullied into accepting shit like this. Yeah, no, because I keep asking one question, and I haven't gotten an answer yet. There's not one farmhand from Long Island or something who, in their diary, looks out across the way to Manhattan and just kind of like, thinks about that mythical structure, the Empire State Building, that was there waiting for us when the Mayflower, the time of the Mayflower, these things were already there. I'm like, okay, listen, you can't. How could you have scrubbed this from every personal diary, every sketch, whatever, every schoolboy or schoolgirl in the area that had line of sight of this thing, never told anybody about it? Like that shit, that gets me.
But look, I sometimes I think about how poetic must have been for somebody that got a boat, maybe came from like a poor village in Italy, like, or they came other parts of Europe that, at that time that you didn't have TV, you didn't have radio, and you got on a boat, and all of a sudden you come to the US and you grew up in a village that everything was built with wood, shacks and this kind of stuff. And then you see Lower Manhattan, you see those Life and Trust buildings from like 1890, like 50 floors.
It's the Roman Empire again.
He was like, oh my God, like, what is this? Yeah. I mean, you know what it is? The truth is that human progress is never linear. We go kind of like in steps, right? There's a discovery, somebody masters something. We master masonry. And then we do amazing masonry stuff, right? You know what I'm trying to say? We discover electronics, and all of a sudden, for the next few decades, like, electronic stuff is amazing. At some point there's a lull. It slows down, and then we'll discover something else, quantum physics, and like we'll have some amazing breakthroughs and move on. Think about how. There's actually interesting. There's some photos you can find online too of Wall Street or downtown Manhattan, 1907 and 1917. And you see in 1907, everything is crowded. Everybody's on horses, and then just 10 years later, everything is on cars.
It's crazy
because it's not linear. All of a sudden there's a breakthrough, like internal combustion engine. Henry Ford develops the assembly line. And all of a sudden, you unlock, this superpower, and you can make Model Ts by the million every year. So it's not linear. So it's, I think, like in the late 19th century, they mastered building, this. Look at Brooklyn Bridge and the other buildings. So there was a big step up. This is why it looks like it's old technology, because again, it's not linear, and you have this kind of like big jumps of technology understanding, and and so on.
I will say, we have seen just in the last few years alone how easy it is to get people to forget things too. And I mean, there's very, very little connection that people have to a lot of old things, a lot of century-old things. So when you talk about many centuries, you can essentially tell people anything right now, and some of them will believe you depending on how you present it, or you can present it poorly. Some people are just completely unconscious. But okay, real quick, I have to before we get into, I want to open up the lines for the calls. I have a couple of really crazy stories about what these AI companies are buying, how they're buying antique books.
Oh, I read about that. Yeah.
I got this. I want to read it with you. And I also want to get this. This is something I'm actually going to talk to Matt from Cultivate Elevate about at some point soon here too, because I know that he was interested in it. I sent it to him, and then I saw he had put out something about this maybe about a day or two later. So I want to get your opinion on it, because it's just spooky. And
the books?
The books thing.
Yeah, I collect some old books, right? The martial arts books and stuff, right? So
it'd be interesting. Makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Just because you've got some pretty great collections going with it. Did you bring anything for show and tell tonight?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll talk about
if
that.
If there's anything, yeah, cool.
Well, first,
I always try to bring little things, yeah.
I always love it. It's either usually a giant sword or something else. But before we get into that, I want to announce all of the winners for the Keto Brains gigantic July prize. This is the $2,500 prize package with the red light sleeping bag thing, and then all of the different products that you're going to be getting. And then we also have the 4 runners-up who are going to be each... 4 runners-up who are each going to be getting a Keto Brains travel pack, which is just really awesome. It's just jammed full of all of the sample packs, and I don't know what else is in there too. Maybe it's a blender or something. Those came in so handy when I went up to Maine with Lauren and Aurora this past June. It was incredible. Just go to the restaurants, you have a packet in your pocket, and boom. The runners up. These are who are getting the travel packs. The winners are Cynthia Poor, Andrew Latham, Susan Hall, and Todd Schoeneman. And the grand prize winner, my friends, is Kirsten Petrie or Petrie. Kirsten Petrie. Molly's going to be in touch with all the winners. There's your 5 winners. And Kirsten, wow, congratulations. Really, really awesome stuff. And don't worry, everybody, because if you didn't win, you did win. You have the greatest nootropic creamer out there. Wonderful nutrition for the brain. It's just, I refuse to go a day without it. And now you can just start all over again because, you know, whenever you re-up for August, and for those of you who have not tried it, please get in touch with me. I'll send you samples totally free. I'll buy it for you. Get in touch with me, Frank at quitefrankly.tv. And going forward into August, it is promo code August now. And any other of the Quite Frankly codes that you have if you're a monthly sponsor or something. And still, we're throwing in the last of all of the stickers and the magnets. There's not that many left of those. But then also, here's what you're getting. Another $500 plus prize package. You're going to get the red light mask and all of this other stuff. Extra keto brains. It looks like the creatine is in there. There's the nattokinase that everybody should look into. You take 3 or 4 of those before you go to bed on an empty stomach, and that's your blood pressure and the anti-clotting and prevention and otherwise. And then there's the BPC 157 peptides. This is all going to be a part of it, and who knows what kind of runners-up they're going to be again. But congratulations to the winners. That's some really awesome stuff. Now, we are going to be having a good time, my friend. I have some good stuff to read here. We're going to take your calls. But first, enjoy this quick break.
I'm continuing to tell the truth about our lives. So let me add my voice. I pledge to continue to speak out. I pledge to never give up. I will do everything I can to keep my voice, number one. To advance the rights and opportunities of women. In the midst of this snowstorm, stay on the front lines of democracy. Thank you all for being part of this gathering of history makers, troublemakers, and change makers. Let's keep going. Thank you.
A drive to left field. He has done it again.
What if for the next 6 months you focus only on yourself? Cut off all distractions. Cut off your mom. Cut off your pops. Cut off any negative energy. Cut off your kids. Fuck them kids. You don't need none of that negativity in your life. Focus on you and you only. Fuck your job. Go broke. Fuck school. Cut off school. Cut off your priests. Cut off everything that's gonna distract you from getting to your motherfucking goal, bitch. Cut off your dick. Your dick is distracting you, bro. All that dick wants is to fuck. You need to fuck your goals, bro. Cut off everything. Focus on you. Shit, cut off yourself. Focus on you, and maybe you can actually become you.
Cut off yourself.
I was looking through some stuff. I was actually Alberto. I was looking for a completely different clip.
Oh yeah.
And I started finding all the stuff I haven't played in forever. And I was like, oh, you know what? What am I gonna do? I gotta start playing some of this stuff again. It made me feel good.
It's funny.
It is funny stuff. And I have to watch Kingpin again too.
Yeah, Kingpin. Yeah, I was trying to think what was the name of the movie. It was that bowling movie. Yeah. It's hilarious.
I had to. I couldn't help myself. Oh man. Anyway, let's see here. Here now, Josh says, Alberto, congratulations from Josh and Dolly. See you in Utah sometime soon.
Thank you so much, guys.
Are you going to Utah?
Nothing planned yet today.
Nothing planned yet.
Be nice. We have some friends and family there, so yeah.
Hey, what about in 2028? There is already talk about a Route 66 excursion You should, if you want to hop on to the caravan, we should do some driving through the country in 2028.
You want to do it? Let's go, Frank. Let's do the Quite Frankly Route 66 tour.
You got to ask Olya because the baby's going to be over a year old.
Okay, I'll get an old Vespa, put the sidecar,
yeah.
We can do it that way, do it in style.
That's it. Hopefully there's no rain. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. The new kid just hit a home run. Holy shit.
Yeah, the Yankees tonight.
They brought up George Lombard Jr. To start at shortstop.
Wow.
He's 21 years old.
Okay.
And he turned a I've been, I had to just know what's going on.
I know you're such a fan, yeah.
He turned a couple incredible plays, and now he just fucking jacked a laser into left field.
Oh, nice.
And that's his first game ever. Well, we'll see what happens.
Nice way to break through the major leagues now.
You know what the crazy thing is? Like I said, he's 21 years old. It's going to take a very, very long. I'm never going to get over this. The fact that, I was 20. I was 20 when he was born. Like what? And that's going to take a while, man. Like I used to always kind of like compare myself on a timeline of, well, am I still old enough to have, be in the major leagues? Well, at 41 years old, you are in elite territory. If you lasted that long, if you're doing something that you're still playing any sport professionally, like baseball or whatever, maybe if you're a kicker in football, you can be there. Don't get touched though. But holy shit, when I see it's still a while for me to say these are children.
It's hard to comprehend passing of time. You see sometimes those memes online of people that think about movies or music from the 90s. They're like, oh yeah, the 90s was like 10 years ago. Then you think about it, it's like, no, 30 years ago. It's kind of like if you were in the 90s, songs from the 60s. Like you realize, and then you're like, oh shit, that's old,
Yeah, man. I know. And the 90s, it's 30 years. And I remember in the 90s, they're thinking there too, because everything kind of had almost like a 1960s feel, even though I wasn't around for that. But I had a lot of exposure to things that were going on in the 60s, just based on all the music and the movies that were around, and the way my parents would talk about it, and listening to all of my older cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents just talking about those years. I used to love just sit back, and I never had anything to contribute, but I would just listen to them talk. And dream about a day, the days when I would have some kind of understanding what they're talking when they talk about insurance or something that's health related. Like, I don't know, that goes over your head, and now it's all you deal with. But you learn a lot just by listening to people. Yeah. So when the 90s rolled around, and a lot of these bands were coming out, and a lot of them kind of like had like 1960s feels, like Blind Melon.
Sure.
Those bands like Blind Melon. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, wow, this is that. It's kind of 60s.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of trippy, and all the music videos kind of put you in a surreal kind of 1960, a field, blue skies with yellow daisies all over rolling fields and shit like that. It's almost like you're in some kind of a fucked up dream, but it's a nice day out.
Yeah.
It's weird. Stone Temple Pilots videos. Forget about it.
Mm-hmm. Soundgarden had some of those videos too, those colors, yeah.
Yeah, man. Anyway, so you're not going to Utah anytime soon, but when you do, Josh is going to be there hanging out with you. Jay Britz says, welcome back and congratulations on your new daughter, Alberto. Great show and great conversation.
Thank you, guys.
And also, Joe Cubicle says, last night's show was great. Thank you, Joe. I think the last night's show was fantastic. Really was. Now, as far as our chat room poll goes, where is the chat poll? I made a mistake of putting a super chat funding goal live on YouTube. The last time I did that, everybody ran away from it, and I did it again. And let me see here. Where the hell is where's the poll? I want to see how people are voting in this. Oh, here you go. So listen to this. My question was, what's changing fastest right now? And out of just under 300 votes, 41% is AI and the internet.
Mm-hmm.
25% and 25% split is American culture and the way we think. And then, of course, family and community at 9%. What's changing the fastest right now? Family and community, 9%. So that's what people are expressing there. On the other hand, we have that old thing I was saying before. What's something that is quietly disappearing or disappeared from everyday life that you still miss? And 45% actually gained a point, 24-hour diners. Neighborhood block parties at 23%. I've only ever been to one for 5 minutes. Payphones, 15%. And then something else. You want to read some of the comments?
Yeah, we got to. Let's see. They're always very interesting.
Okay, so the first one that people miss. This is from Steve Schaefer. Says, 80s girls were so cool. I don't know how anyone can date now. From what I hear, it is pretty tough out there. Everybody's got problems, men and women. Everybody has very unique problems.
People used to meet at those 24-hour diners. There's no more 24-hour diners.
There's
no more chances to meet people.
They knew that the diners was what was pumping through Americans' blood.
Uh-huh.
That was it. I also miss payphones, says Tefros. It was golden years when those were around. You always felt like you weren't alone with payphones, because you could at least dial somebody collect, and they could pick up the charges. And, in the wilderness somewhere, there's a phone that is hardwired to an operator. You can talk to somebody. There's a human being on the other side of that phone. There's something very cozy about that. Let's see here. Freedom are us. It says clean air, blue skies, gone but not forgotten. Kathy Newhart says no cell phones, just kids out playing, having fun. Smoking and reading the sports pages in the Star Ledger over a few cups of coffee at a diner in New Jersey. I now no longer smoke and gave up watching sports in 2012. I no longer live in Jersey, but it was a great place to grow up in the 60s and 70s. That's Floyd Braun. Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Smoking and reading the sports pages over a few cups of coffee at a diner. Because you can smoke in the diner. I still remember the smoking section in our diner. I don't know, Floyd. You make me want to get into a time machine. If I can get into a time machine right now, I might go meet up with Floyd in New Jersey and smoke the first cigarette of my life with him and just have some coffee.
Frank, how many of those little things we take for granted now? Like once we'll be really old men, and not that we're young now, but we'll be much older. We will love to just have a time machine and go back and just probably enjoy it. One will be this, like a cigarette, reading the sports column, having some coffee. Like I get all those years, maybe you didn't care, but if I could go back one time and just walk in one of those diners and see that and get that smell and had that aroma of the coffee.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
No, not much.
Okay, so
I'm a big coffee drinker.
I play this game with myself all the time. Especially on a day, especially if it's a rough day. If there's something I can't figure out, if work is grinding, I thought it was going to be a lot quicker than this. All of a sudden, I see an entire day go by where it's one thing if I am just grooving. Anybody out there knows it's one thing when you're just grooving and you look up and 4 hours has gone by and you were just in the zone. It's another thing when you look up 4 hours has gone by and you feel like it has been a slog and you've barely gotten anything done because it's just been tedious for some reason. Those days or any other reason why your day might be, not the best. I always think about 30 years from now, how fast will you jump into a time machine to have that day back? How fast will you jump in to get back to 2026 when you're fairly young? You got a 5-year-old daughter in the other room pretending that she's a barista somewhere and pouring everybody fake coffee. Your parents are healthy. They're older, but they're healthy. And just everybody's all right. And I think about that, and it more often than not snaps me out of it. I go and I go go in the other room, grab Aurora, start wrestling with her. It's just like a call back down. So I guess that'll kind of be my cigarettes in the diner Because, I don't know, maybe there will be a day where, let's say, stop having that occasional cigar. But I don't know why I have to stop having an occasional cigar. I don't smoke weed anymore, really. I feel like I can't enjoy it anymore. I don't get any enjoyment out of it. I start thinking about, it stresses me out. So I don't think I've ever been, it only ever felt good if I'm already chill. I feel accomplished about something. If I'm not, it's not one of those stress alleviators for me. Like for some people get stressed out.
I know. It never worked for me. I had some friends that had really good response from like smoking weed. Never worked for me.
It depends on what it is.
Right, sure.
If it's like a physical stress, like I am like blitzed from having a great workout or something. But if there is like something going on in my life that I need to hunker down and figure out, I get way too existential when I smoke.
I see.
And then I start thinking about death.
Oof. No,
fuck
you
that.
don't want to go there.
No, I don't think about that. Yeah. So to hell with that shit.
It's cool. Yeah, those moments are cool. I think as we became fathers, you start thinking more about those things, those special little moments, right?
Yeah.
When we were single, also when we were married, but no kids, you don't think much about it. You think more about. I thought more about myself, but once you have kids, you start trying to treasure those little moments. I start realizing how important those moments are. And we worry about everything, but sometimes it would be nice to slow down and enjoy that,
Yeah.
Like you said, your daughter pretending to be barista, When you said it, I could picture it. It was cool.
Yeah. I have videos. I probably have videos on my phone. I gotta show that one. There's some of them that are just really awesome. She's got these glasses on. She put these glasses on. I'm like, look at this. She's like Euro trash kind of stuff. I was like, damn. I can imagine some kind of cheesy EDM electronica Euro trash song on in the background that she's just jamming out to and just making everybody coffee.
When I have this, you unlocked a memory of mine too. When my oldest daughter, Alessandra, was 2 years old, I remember during the summer I used to wash my car. I still have it. I have this old Fiat 500, cute little Fiat, and I will go outside and wash it. Get the sponge. And I have this memory. One time she came down. She was walking, but 2 years old. She had. I guess the mother, I put like a little bathing suit and she had this cute curly blonde hair and she was like so excited to clean the car with me. And I have this like vivid memory of her. It was so cute. It was such like a special moment, like father and daughter, And I, every once in a while I think about it. I think the day that I'll die, I'll probably go back to that one little moment of like meaningless happiness, that bond between father and daughter.
Yeah, especially to a time when you can say, hey, you want to come outside and do something with me? And it's just like, yes,
right.
Please. Oh, man. I know that's going to be met with a nah. I know I'm going to get nah or no or a sigh. I'll start getting sighs at some point, but maybe not. Maybe
you're an interesting man. I think your daughter will always look up to you. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you saying so. Okay, well, here's a couple more. Kathleen Floor Cruise. Good to see you out there, Kathleen. Said muscle cars. I could do this all day. Natalie says, quality clothing is so hard to find, especially at reasonable prices. Everything is plastic and or poorly constructed. I have some older clothing items that are thick cotton that long outlasted newer items. Time to bring back well-made cotton, wool, silk, and linen clothing, preferably in the USA, at a decent price. But unfortunately, it's not easy to do these days. That's another thing that started really making it hard for people to make ends meet is when really great, high-quality jobs were shipped overseas. To a lot of places that will, we propped up the economies of places like Vietnam and everything else. They have factory jobs, but usually those little gigs were at one time, especially in the United States, all a man needed to be able to secure to have a house, a car, food on the table for a family of 4 or 5.
Yeah,
and
you had me at hello. always argued in favor of bringing back manufacturing in the U.S., and people always looked at me like I was crazy, but they're so important. It's not just the factory, but right, all the services around it. You know, for 10,000 people that worked at the factory, you had a community of hundreds of thousands that worked around the factory, providing even just, I don't know, just daily, you know, food for the people working there, you know.
Yeah.
Once we lost that manufacturing, we lost a lot. Yeah. I agree, 100%.
See here. Cody Reeves says, I gotta say, we still have really fun local birthday barbecue and July 4th, etc. Beautiful to see strangers from the apartments come together and throw down. Yeah, that is great. He says, the diner issue, though. I live across the street from Waffle House. It isn't the same.
Good fights at 3 a.m. at Waffle House, though.
He says, yeah, good patty melt. Good patty melt at 2 a.m. from the local mom and pop diner would never get old. Payphones can keep their long distance fees in the past. Yeah, I know, but that's the whole thing with the payphones. That was, like I said, it was almost like a sense of security that we had. If you didn't have a quarter, if you didn't have a dime to drop, you know, there was a time you could say, drop me a dime, you know, drop a dime and give me a call. And then all of a sudden a dime wasn't enough to call somebody anymore. And when I started using payphones, it was all quarters. 80s arcades and pinball.
Oh my God. Yes.
People not being glued to their cell phone, drive-through liquor stores. I've never been.
No, I wouldn't. Again,
That takes some dedication. That is it. You know, one thing is, you know what's crazy? Anybody in New Hampshire, I'm going to open up the lines here. If anybody in New Hampshire can call in and give me a little bit of understanding as to why, as soon as you cross into New Hampshire, all you see is liquor stores. And it's almost like state promoted liquor stores.
Huh.
As soon as you cross the state line, there are big green highway signs. Liquor store, this exit. Like it's very
From which
serious.
state you're crossing over?
Going from Massachusetts into New Hampshire.
Must have some strict liquor laws on probably weekends. Probably Saturday night after a certain time, you cannot buy liquor anymore. You can't buy liquor on Sunday, and I guess people just cross the state line to buy. Yeah.
It's got to be, because there is such a crazy amount of attention drawn to the fact that there are liquor stores right there off the exits, and it is highway sign, like exit signs. Like, you know, you can see exit 35, so-and-so street, or whatever the hell else. This is a giant green highway sign that says liquor store, exit.
They do the same with fireworks if you head towards PA.
Hold on. Why does New Hampshire advertise liquor stores so vehemently as soon as you cross state lines into New Hampshire? Let's see. New Hampshire heavily advertises its state-run liquor stores. It's state-run. Well, that makes sense because it's highway signs. They heavily advertise state-run liquor stores right at the borders because the state operates a lucrative monopoly on alcohol sales, using low prices and massive highway retail locations to draw out-of-state shoppers and generate hundreds of millions in public revenue without general sales or income tax. The reasons for border advertising: free tax-free advantage. New Hampshire has no general sales tax. Alcohol prices stay low. Funding public services. Profits from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission go straight to state general fund. See, this is what I'm talking about. Hold on, maybe we get a call over here. Maybe it's somebody that knows. 917, you're on the air. Do you know anything about the liquor licenses or liquor laws in New Hampshire?
Not in New Hampshire. In New York, I do. But I wanted to say I wish you had more shows like this, just sitting there shooting the shit. I actually wish you took more calls during you doing that. Just sitting there with Alberto, shooting the shit, and pop in a couple of phone calls here and there.
Well, here you are. What do you think about it all? What do you want to contribute? You just like it? That's fine.
No, I mean, that was it. I have contributed enough during the years, I think, but I'm kind of upset that you put out a date for this 2027 thing in what is October, whatever, it kind of made me feel like you're not doing anything until then. So it's kind of like, we gotta wait until October of next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did something in spring. The reason why we're not doing it in the fall is because the baby's coming, and so we figured this would be even better, because once January, actually, we wouldn't do it in January. We probably would start making tickets available in February. It just gave people a lot of time to plan, and yeah, I'm just that's it.
Well, I hope we do something before that. Anyway, love you guys.
Well, thank you so much,
Frank. Tell me more about this event in October.
Well, next year in 2027.
Yeah,
which it's apparently very upsetting. First, I got people saying they didn't have enough time to buy tickets in 2025, and we gave them full 6 months to get tickets, and now. And now I just got like 3 complaints in a row.
They want Frank. They want those live events. People love you.
Well, I wish I could do twice a year, but there's a reason why I would prefer it to have been in October. I just like that time of the year and all that stuff. But
let's do a February ski trip. Come on.
I'm down with it. Go. You know, maybe something in the spring. I wanted to do something music related.
Right.
You know, I know that Jay Gulanello was going to have some kind of a retreat, but that's usually a smaller amount of people. It's usually an intimate kind of a thing. Like no more than like 30 people go to that because of just what the programming is like. But I still would love to put together some kind of a late spring, early summer concert. If I can find bands, if I can find a venue, if I can get myself into a band. I don't know if Set the Charge, if Anthony and the guys would even want to do it. So you got to understand, I'm one person. I have a lot of lofty ideals, but I don't have it's tough.
Maybe you can crowdsource that, see what people suggest that they like to do, and see if maybe they come up with some good ideas that are actually workable. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, but in the meantime, I'm excited because we actually already have the venue.
Amazing. Where?
The same place.
Oh, beautiful.
Now imagine the mansion that we were all at.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Now imagine that in the 3rd week of October when it's all foliage and it's going to be gorgeous. So I made sure I got that out of the way, and who knows what happens? Who knows what happens for the rest of the year? Maybe we have some. No, we don't have anything going on. I have a baby showing up. I can't feel sad about this. Anyway, everybody, you can call in and now you can talk about whatever the hell you want. Let's see here. Willie, what's going on?
Hey, I went to college in New Hampshire, and they've been selling only at state-run liquor stores since forever. My dad used to go up there for Christmas presents all the time because there was no tax and it was always cheaper. But you could buy like beer and wine at the grocery store or at gas stations or convenience stores or whatever. But I don't know what the real rule or what started it. It might have been some of them, I don't know if it was blue laws back then or whatever, but it was only state-run liquor stores. And they're like, right, like you say, right when you're going up 95, they're right there. And then there are only a couple more throughout the whole state. It's kind of, you really got to plan if you want to, buy booze.
Wow.
Oh, wait. Oh, so you're saying that there's no private liquor stores in the state of New Hampshire?
Not at all. Only state-run liquor stores.
That's crazy.
And I think lottery, too, there or something. And they use all the money for the state. And they've been doing it, like, I don't know, 50 years or more.
Wow.
And it's working out for them.
Okay, so
I
Willie,
went to college there in the 80s.
All right, Willie, I got a little bit more for you. So you're right. There are no private liquor stores in New Hampshire. By state law, it's completely illegal to operate a private retail business that sells hard liquor or spirits. Does that mean even for restaurants? Like you can't. No, you can't.
You can get a drink in a restaurant,
okay,
but they have to buy their liquor from the state.
So this is where it happened. New Hampshire's state-controlled liquor model began in 1934, immediately following the repeal of national prohibition.
Yeah.
So that's June 1934. Then Governor John G. Winant signed the bill establishing the New Hampshire Liquor Commission, and the state very first retail outlets opened their doors in Concord, Manchester, and Nashua. And that's And that's how they fund a lot of things in state. And you know what? Good on them. That's an example of a state doing something
good, right?
Yeah.
We always think about how
their roads up there are awesome. I mean, there's a lot of good things. There's no income tax up there. There's no sales tax. Okay. It's been, kind of Republican since forever. It used to always somewhere up in the top. I forget the name of the town, but way up in the top of New Hampshire, there's only like 3 people that vote, and they almost always, vote for who's going to be the president since forever. It's a cool state. Nice. Live free or die.
Well,
I went to college there for 2 years.
Well, Willie, somebody in the chat room just said that you sound too sober to be entertaining tonight. What do you think? What do you think about that?
What do you mean? That's supposed to be a broad in the chat.
See, there you go. Now you're bringing out the King Willie. All right, thanks for the call, my friend.
Right. Hey, good to see you. Later on, bye.
See you later.
It's interesting. I didn't realize that they had that monopoly. I mean, that's kind of like a communist though kind of rule where like the government takes over like what could be done by the private sector. But at least it worked. Okay, I guess
this is what I'm talking about.
If there's no tax, let's do it. That's a good trade-off, right? That's a good trade-off, though.
There's your 10th Amendment powers right there. There is a state using its constitutional powers to do something. We're coming out of a time of prohibition, and they seized on the opportunity to make something available at lower, no tax prices, and it went all funneled into things that everybody, to one degree or another, is able to enjoy in their state, and they are 100% able to do it. And that's what, if we were really going to be American again and really see things get turned around, that's where all these pie in the sky, communist types can really, put the pedal to the metal and show us how you make it work in your city, in your 100%. Town, without any help, without any help. Show us how it's sustainable.
And then we can adopt it nationally, yes.
No?
Never?
No, never.
Okay.
No.
I thought you were going that direction.
No. See, that's the...
No, because I heard that argument sometimes when people say about like free healthcare. Like, okay, if you want to do free healthcare, do it in your town. If it works in a town, do it in a state. If it works in a state, then we can do it nationally. But you need some proof of concept. The problem is that nobody was ever able to figure out how to make it work, even in a small town. So how can we scale it on the national level? I guess I see it in a pragmatic way like that. But
well, it's very simple. The national level is there is absolutely there's nothing in the enumerated powers for the federal government to take over anything like that. It is such a limited in scope thing.
It's very complicated.
So everything that they're already doing mostly is very highly illegal, from Social Security to Medicare bullshit. But states can make it work if they find a way. They have some kind of very unique natural resource or something that they're able to monetize.
I get what you're trying to say. So it has to be done at the state level by the state. So all 50 states could do it, but it has to be approved by the state themselves.
Absolutely.
Not imposed by the federal government. Yeah, I can see that. I agree with you 100% on that.
It's federalism.
Yes, sure.
The 50 states would be able to do something individually.
Yes.
They'd be able to, copy each other's homework, but it could not be decreed from Washington, D.C. That's where we are right now.
You're right.
That's where we are.
Yeah, that's why we have a lot of issues sometimes.
Okay, let's see here. Let's take a call. 914-200-0269. A call from Aaron. What's going on?
Hey, Frank. Thanks for taking my call. I grew up in Mound, Minnesota, and Mound had only one liquor store. It was the municipal liquor store. If you wanted to get any liquor in Mound, then you would go there, and that went to paying down people's taxes in the town. That could be a great way to replace property tax, too, if these states would do that, or cities or counties. Also, I lived in Rhode Island in the big 80s, and I always thought that New Hampshire sounds like for damn sure. So whenever I want to say for damn sure, but I don't want to swear, I'll say that's New Hampshire.
Yeah. Yes. See, for damn sure. New Hampshire for damn sure. Well, thank you for that, Aaron. And it's a great point. It's a great point. That's our good friend, Aaron Moriarty. If people really cared about making things good, these are the kind of ideas they'd come up with. Is there any way that we can eliminate property? What can we do that's crafty, that is really innovative, that people would get behind, that would eliminate property tax, but we can still keep, our local schools going or whatever? And I'm talking about, this is what town and city councils can go on, not even something that's statewide.
Right.
That I love to hear that. You find something in the town that's very popular, that makes a lot of money, that you're able to create a program that is based just on, it is funded in part by economic activity that is already happening. And instead, all the property taxes are, all of a sudden people own their property instead of just the illusion of having it being owned, where you can get padlocked by some government goon because a house with no mortgage, lapsed on some local taxes. That's insane. But, that has to be, a case-to-case basis. You know your town, you know your locality better than anybody else. Take a call from Michael. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. Diner story. There was a place in Battle Creek called Steve's. That was like the name of the owner. And it was a 24-hour diner. I can remember going there at 3 o'clock in the morning with my dad. He had a 67 Pontiac Firebird that could go like over 125 miles an hour. We went there at 3 in the morning, and then we got on I-94. We went out to Benton Harbor, and we got out there at like 7 or something, and we were fishing on Lake Michigan. They had these piers that would go 1.25 miles, or I think St. Joseph's went 1.5 miles out into Lake Michigan. And oh God, just cold water. Oh man, it was just wild time. But yeah, that's another thing I can tell you that might surprise you. I can remember in the 70s as a kid, when we would go to movie theaters, we would dress up like in our Sunday best. Can you imagine that? You would dress up like you're going to a play or something.
I can't imagine it. Well, I can imagine it. I've seen it. That definitely missed me. Never did that. But there was but I'll tell you something. I dress very reverently, at least good enough to go to a decent restaurant when I take Lauren and Aurora to church. That's something that there are some days, you're just caught up and you didn't have time to go home to change, and those are the days that I just sit in the back of the church. I don't receive communion. I just don't make myself visible at all because I'm just ashamed for not looking good enough. But I just want to be there, and I do whatever. But when you see there are no standards for anything. When you see how people show up in church with pajama pants on, and I'm like, holy shit. Literally, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? Even good restaurants. Lauren and I, every once in a while, when we say, okay, we put a little bit aside, let's go out and let's go to a nice steakhouse or something like that. We'll get dressed almost to the nines. And I guess people who go there just for regular dinner because they got so much money that it's not a special occasion to them anymore, showing up in flip flops and yachting shorts and stuff. Like, what?
I don't do that. In the past years, I made it a point to dress nice. I feel like there's that famous quote by Tom Ford that says, being well dressed is a sign of good manners. And I really think that's true. I like t-shirts and being comfortable, but I think it's nice to kind of like keep up the standards. If I wear a t-shirt, I'm Alberto. If I wear like a button-down shirt, I'm Mr. Marchetti, So it's a good way to, I think it's a sign of good, also showing respect to people and demanding respect for yourself if you dress nice.
Thanks for the call, Michael. It's great. Great call.
Okay. Yep. See you.
Okay. Take care.
I love the image that he painted of him and, with his father with the Firebird, 67 Firebird diner, and then going fishing. Yeah, nice.
Trying to think. I think a lot of my imagery, never went fishing.
Did you go fish with your dad at all?
With my father?
No, I don't know.
No, not my father. I'd go to plays, theater with my father, with my parents, but nothing outdoorsy. My mother would take us to a lot more places. We'd go to museums with my father from time to time as well. But with my mom, some of the greatest memories of just taking road trips and stuff, they would be to baseball related stuff. So we would go to not only just dozens of Yankee games, but we made several trips to Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
and even followed the Yankees to other places like Baltimore to see them play the Orioles at Camden Yards, and Fenway Park in 1999 to see them play the Red Sox there, and then of course other road trips down to Myrtle Beach, and we did a lot more stuff like that, but nothing ever outdoorsy. I never had a proper camp out that wasn't in our backyard. I never have been fishing. I went out with my uncle once, cast a line a couple of times, didn't catch anything. He caught some bunker fish so that we can use it as bait. I cut up the bunker fish, but we never caught anything else. So that's an area in my life that has never gone hunting. Certainly never dressed a deer or anything like that. Or so if I ever did, put an animal down, I think that hunting a deer would be a lot less troublesome for me than actually having to hang that thing up and gut it. That's something that I would like to get over one day.
That's one of those things that we lost, right? Telephone booths, fishing. People don't fish like they used to. I feel like a generation or two ago, fishing was like almost everybody fished. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
My two grandparents were great fishermen. They loved to fish.
My book club and we just finished reading Huckleberry Finn.
Right.
And last year we read Tom Sawyer.
Right.
And
they go fishing all the time.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. When I got back home from Maine, my buddy Jay came onto the show, and I read through a couple of pages that I took pictures of. And whenever we go up there, Lauren and I always like to go check out all the antique stores there, because they're gigantic antique stores. They're like many levels. You're just surrounded by incredible history, old books all over the place.
Oh, wow.
And I found this old, not as old as I have my father's year of Boy Scout handbook, which I got to bring in here and read from something again.
Those are cool books. Yeah.
They really are. But I found one from like the late 70s, early 80s, and it goes in the opening pages was all about, the savagery of boyhood, of child, and how and what it meant to be able to keep that savage nature of yours alive and well, where you wouldn't be able to, go to a place, proper place in polite company and be anything other than an embarrassment to your family. But when it came down to it, that you would be as comfortable being in the woods as you would be in a classroom, and to be able to keep that side of ourselves nurtured and be in touch with that a little bit more. And they actually use in that handbook Huckleberry Finn as the main example of the savagery of boyhood, to be able to do all those things, be comfortable with it, no matter where you present yourself in civilization, that you always have that part of you can tap into. Right. That's definitely something that's lacking right now.
We talk about it a lot right now, but it was something I think people understood even 100 plus years ago when the Boy Scouts were founded, right? That there was people moving towards more like the urban centers, and they were losing that touch with nature.
Yeah.
That's part of why the Boy Scouts were founded, There's a lot of that history near here. If you go to Bear Mountain Bridge, it's somehow linked to the founding of the Boy Scouts. There's a lot of information there.
I got to check that out. The Bear Mountain Bridge?
Bear Mountain Bridge, the zoo, it's linked to that,
I love that.
Because of also the relation that they had with Teddy Roosevelt, the president, who was a big proponent of the Boy Scouts and outdoors in general,
I've been to the Bear Mountain Zoo once. It's kind of nice. It's all injured animals. It's all local injured animals.
Yes. But it's a good day trip, yes.
It is. I got to go up there again. I think Aurora would like those trails. You can go right up to the top of the mountain and overlook the Hudson. But on that real quick before I miss this completely, with old books, because we're gonna do a deeper dive into this on the show in an upcoming episode. So it's all right if we just kind of scratch the surface here. And I know you've heard about it. AI companies are buying antique books, ingesting the contents to train models, and then destroying the books at incredible scale.
Yeah.
So traditionally, here's what they say. Traditionally, books have been good for two things: reading and looking nice on a shelf. But AI companies, the bastards, are interested in neither. To those building large language models, books are nothing more than fodder to be devoured en masse before being spit out like fishbone. Often they are happy to use digital books, or even better, pirated digital books, as Meta has been accused of doing, and Anthropic was forced to pay $1.5 billion settlement to authors for also doing it. But many companies, including Anthropic, have turned to ingesting physical books instead, which they can buy countless used copies on the cheap. According to the settled lawsuit, Anthropic used a hydraulic-powered cutting machine to neatly remove the pages from the books it procured from book resellers and then scanned them using industrial-grade imaging equipment. In other words, it was literally ripping off authors' books to train its AI. Now, that right there is just scary, because you're talking about a physical ingestion. You're like, it's consuming, cutting apart, reading, and then destroying.
They cut off the binding parts so that the pages can easily be fed by the machine and scanned quickly. There was a good segment on the All In podcast last Friday that talked about this. Do you ever watch that podcast?
No.
It's a good business podcast. There's four members that come from like a tech investment background. One of them is one of the founders of PayPal, and they were talking about the pros and cons of this. And I think the article is a little bit misleading on what they're doing, because they were saying that they're buying old books, but not really like rare and antique books. So it's books that there's large quantities you could find. It's not like they're damaging, like, I don't know, Gutenberg's Bible. You understand that? It's not irreplaceable. So it's stuff that can be also reprinted if needed. I think the real issue, and I think part of why the fuss is being brought up, is because the publishers of the books are trying to somewhat build a case to get more money from the AI companies for scanning the books and using them as base for their large.
I think what's upsetting people so much, just from an optics standpoint, is that you have a digital system devouring physical media.
Sure, I understand the image. Yes.
It's a physical devouring of analog media. And so even if it's just, used books that you could get otherwise for $99. I remember there was one summer I was buying used classics for less than $2 a piece. And, paperback copies that really are just later printings. There's nothing really historic about the print itself. Right. But I think that right there is making people wonder, well, you know what? We live in an age of slippery. We feel like we're at the bottom of several slippery slopes right now, that they said that there's nothing to fear. So when you think about a machine actually eating a book, it makes people go, holy shit.
Right. It doesn't look good at all. But from my personal standpoint, my verdict is still in limbo, let's say. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if they destroy unique, rare books, that's terrible. That shouldn't happen. Their value, they're irreplaceable. But I don't think that's the case. I think these are old paperbacks mostly, that there's a lot of circulation. Yeah.
Well, let me just make sure that I have not missed anybody's super chats. Shoes of Peace has resubscribed over on Twitch. Thank you so much, Shoes. You are now in the running for these wonderful super chat. Remember, we have our friend Wix Vixen out there who won these wonderful wooden, Quite Frankly, coasters last week, has paid it forward to the next winner. And on top of that, I am putting this 2-ounce round of 250 Years of America copper right on top of that. And we also have four silver quarters that are going on top of the copper. And we're building toward that, and I'm going to introduce a second prize tomorrow. So thank you so much. And to Josh, I think we're all good over there. Over on Rumble. Hold on. I thought I saw something. Yes, I did. Nephilim says, cheers, Frank. That's why we train every day. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war.
Oh, yeah. Great quote.
And then over on Pill.net, let's just get all these out of the way because we're just about 9 o'clock. So we are going to, we're just about to get ourselves over to the flip side. Corey, thank you so much. Ginster says, I made a thumbnail for you, Frank. I tried my hand at it and it worked pretty good, I think. Well, take a look at it. Quite Stevely, it's good to have you out there, Steve. Who else? Oh, wait, Esther says, you're an old soul, Frank. You represent good times and nostalgia. Well, I love talking about it because it brings a lot of people out of the woodwork to talk about things that they love, things that they miss, and there's just such rich conversation in there. And it helps build. I think it's a building blocks for raising standards for the future. To remember what is kind of not at the forefront of our consciousness anymore is almost to say, well, why do we need to say goodbye to that? And how can we revisit that kind of quality in another form now? So I want to put the building blocks together on that. Quite Stevely, thank you. Sean Joe Nathan says, I love when Alberto's on. Always such great conversation. Thank you. Tommy Jekyll says, if violence is never the answer, how did this country launch? How did the ballot box or any more successful than the colonials' effort before the Revolutionary War petitioning the king? That's what some people would say. They would say it's a valid question, but the real, again, it's a different when you think about the practicality of the whole thing. Yeah. Sulfanol says the steps necessary to move forward are easy, but the dragging people forward is slow. Doodah Man says, you said something that reminded me of being in the zone when I owned my own company in the 90s. That's how it is, with the passage of time and the hands of the clock. Yeah. Safety Net says a bit of gold for the coconut fund. Thank you. It means a lot. Tommy Jekyll, thank you. Says maybe driving through Massachusetts is thirsty work, Frank. It could be. It could be. But now I have all of the understanding that I need. I can't wait to tell Lauren about it, unless, of course, she was watching the whole time. Swickly says Route 66 RV Concert Fund. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of things. A lot of things for a cookie to fund. Corey and then Tracer says, all caught up. Here's my late fee. And then Deansy said, good to be back. Missed you, Frankie. Good evening to Alberto. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Okay, that's all we have for tonight. The winner is AI and the internet is what's changing the fastest right now. And then over on the poll, from the community poll, there's still a couple of things there. Shane says personal connections with people is something that I miss a little bit more. Carly Tebbs gets you right in the throat. Says my son's needing me to sing them to sleep is something that she misses.
Oh.
Peter from Canada says we used to have icicle tricycles back in the day. They were ice cream men, teens, riding bikes with fridges attached. Oh. That sounds like something you would find in the Caribbean. I feel like in the Caribbean they would drive around with a box on the front of a bicycle and have just to be filled with like Bahama Mama mix and pina coladas. Walmart open 24/7, shopping at 2 a.m. if I wanted. Walmart's not open 24/7 anymore.
I think a lot of locations probably not close at midnight, right?
Damn. Well,
but there's still probably some.
Well,
we'll have to see.
I'll tell you guys, get onto that community thread over there, vote, because it's still open for a little while longer, and get into the comments and talk to other people. Talk to other people. Don't only leave your comment, but leave a comment under other people's comments. That's the whole point of it there. It's a nice little adjunct to the forum that we have on quitefrankly.tv. Alberto, let everybody know where they can find you and all the great work that you're doing.
Guys, you can just look me up on Instagram. It's Alberto Manto BJJ. And that's it. Connect to me through the Instagram page. Send me DMs. I'll reply to everyone if you guys have any questions. And otherwise, just catch me here on Frank's show from time to time or at the live events.
Oh yeah, because Alberto's there.
I come. I love it.
Listen, it's great presence.
I love your audience. Everybody's so nice. So when there's a chance to meet them, Ollie and I stop by all the time.
I love it. And I love the audience, no doubt. Here it is, everybody. Alberto Monto, BJJ, right there on Instagram. And in fact, I have tagged him in the promotional. Where is it? Here it is. There's tonight's. So there you go. So get over there and follow Quite Frankly, and then you can just click right through to Alberto.
You know, that diner reminds me of the Phoenicia Diner a little bit. Have you been to the Phoenicia Diner up in the Catskills?
No.
So there's this 1950 diner that's kind of like a staple between Woodstock and Phoenicia. It looks kind of just like it. So if somebody wants to do a little road trip of a little bit like Americana and go back in time, take that the road up to the Catskills, put like Bel Air a ski resort as a destination, and you'll once you get closer to Phoenicia, you'll see it on the left side. It looks just like it, and they make great coffee, I must say.
Really?
They have also a fire pit in the winter.
That's one place I'd love to talk about a little bit more, because the Catskills, that was a location that a lot of my grandparents' generation
used to go. Yeah,
they
this summer especially. Yeah,
loved taking little vacations there. Even when all of their children, our parents' generation, were older and they just started going on their own with their friends. I mean, that's the other thing there too. My grandparents, I thought it was normal for neighbors, people in the neighborhood, to go on vacations together. My grandparents were great friends with their neighbors. They would have card nights. They played gin rummy. They'd all play for quarters. When they had enough quarters, they would all, take a weekend and go to Atlantic City. Then there was other times that they would go up to the Catskills and stuff like that. And I just like shit like that. Those types of connections were things I was always excited to be able to build for myself. Takes a little bit more time. I see a lot of people don't have that connection at all, and I try my damnedest, but it's because I think about stuff like that. And the Catskills was always in the heart, of people around here. It was always a place a little nice, like an adult getaway. And actually, my friends, they were just there recently. I wonder where they stayed, because when you talk about abandoned places, especially in New York, the Catskills, they have several early 20th century locations that are
just hotels and stuff.
They're just being reconsumed by the forest.
Yeah, Ollie and I like it. We've gone many times through the years. Woodstock itself, it's a cute little town. I highly recommend it for people that want to go daily trips. But there's also Bethel Woods. That was the original location of the Woodstock concert from '68. They have an amazing museum on top of the hill, and they preserved the hill where the lawn where the concert was, and it's nice. It feels like going back in time, but it's a cool location. It's very nice. There's something magical about those mountains.
It is, and I unfortunately I don't have any real connection to them just yet. I passed by them on the way up to the Adirondacks, but we've never stopped there and did anything in the Catskills.
Let's do it before the summer ends.
Oh,
let's do a day trip. Come on.
Well, we'll talk about it. We still got to do our barbecue at your house. I thought we were going to get together late. Things get messy, but we still have time in August. We got to do something.
I'm there.
Okay.
Come by.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much for the support. I can't wait until Alberto's back again. We're not completely done. We have another 25 minutes left. We're just going to chill, or a couple of minutes. He's a new father. I'm not going to keep him too late. But we're just going on the flip side just to say hello to everybody and just to have a couple more. I don't know. Do you have show and tell?
I have something I can show you. Yes, I brought something interesting.
Good. We have show and tell on the flip side. I'll be putting the link in the description into the chat room. If you can't find the link, then just go to quitefrankly.tv and press play. All right? Have a great one. Thanks again, Alberto.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay. I did it again. It's just every night. Every night. Where's my mind? I don't know.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes. Quite Frankly's filmed before a live studio audience. And thank you to everybody who supported me tonight with the super chats and the love. It's really, really, really fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you will love this show and want to see it grow, It doesn't take that much to make it so. Please go to quitefrankly.tv, click on the Culture Club, and join something. It takes as little as $5 just to get in on there and get all these wonderful universal perks, whatever the hell it is. But I would say go to the hot place right now is the Patreon, because that is the place where all of the classic episodes are being uploaded, about 10 a month, and you are going to be able to get in on some primo history in the order that it happened. Okay? Talk to you soon. Good night.